while I was there, I got this other really cool opportunity to work on a project with Stan Lee. My approach was more so like start at the head and then move down to the shoulders and move to the arm, you know?
Right.
I didn't think like, let me frame this whole thing out. Let me kind of work out the overall silhouette. You know, play with some like really basic shapes. My attitude was, I need to do art to prove to studios that, you know, I can do what they want. I would literally sometimes stay there overnight, you know, and just work on my own stuff, you know. It wasn't until I decided to just not care anymore, and I went down without a ticket, actually. I just kind of put my head down and not party or anything like that, just like practice every single day. All right.
Okay, so we're good? Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome to Any Course TV. So this is another episode. We have a new guest. His name is Gavin Ball, and yeah, he used to be my teacher like back in like 10 years ago, 11
Yeah, it
years
was
ago.
like, I think 2007.
2007.
Maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Yeah. So now, he's like a great like concept artist and character designer, and now he's working on his own game. And also game development stuff, right? So so we're gonna talk to him about that more. Yeah. So how you been up to? Like maybe you can talk about like where you've been.
So yeah, man. I guess since I taught you back then, that was like one of my first jobs out of school. I was teaching at a private art school called Miro, and he was applying at the time to get into Sheridan College, into the animation program. I had just finished at Centennial, Seneca for animation. And I was just trying to find my way, as an artist, and I was trying to teach them as much as I knew, which wasn't that much at the time, sadly, but it was enough, I think. And basically after I left there, I ended up going to Vancouver. So I got a job in Vancouver. So it was kind of funny. At that time, I was floundering. Like my career was kind of like not taking.
But that's like your first kind of like job after you graduate from Seneca?
Yeah, so I mean, I worked with a local artist. His name is Bobby Chu for a little while, and it's more like an internship than anything. And so he showed me a lot of things about like digital painting and Photoshop. But I felt that I want to get like the industry experience. I want to go work in the studio somewhere, and kind of like get some different perspectives on things. You know what I mean? So after leaving Bobby Chu, like I couldn't find anything anywhere. I was like this unproven kind of artist that was not that good at the time, and so it was kind of a difficult period for me. And I decided like I'm just gonna have to get better. So I started practicing. I started like doing some drills to kind of get better, and then I got my first opportunity in Vancouver. But if it hadn't been that, like at that time, my attitude was, I need to do art to prove to studios that I can do what they want. I was trying to cater, kind of change my style to mimic, what I thought they wanted. And I think that took away a lot of my personal power, as an artist. So it wasn't until I decided to just not care anymore in a way, and just kind of make stuff that was, really felt good to make, that people started to respond more to my work, That in conjunction with like me doing like more training and drilling myself on some of my weak spots. And then I got my first opportunity in Vancouver, but at the time, like I also had the people who made crack creatures. They also said, we want to bring you on as a designer. And Blue Sky also wanted to interview me for a position.
There you go.
But I took the Vancouver gig. It was a like more sure thing at the time. And while out there, I was working on Barbie, and a couple cool things happened while I was there. And you tell me if I'm going too long-winded with this. If you want to talk about other stuff.
No, I think this can go anywhere.
Okay. So,
but I also want you to have some time to talk about your own personal project too.
Okay.
So
all right, cool. Yeah. So what happened? Yeah. So I was in Vancouver. My attitude was at the time, let me just kind of just like not go have fun. Let me just go grow. Let me go
outside of Ontario.
Just kind of put my head down and not party or anything like that. Just like practice every single day. And just kind of.
I remember like you're
really
fun
like
stuff.
humble person as well. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a Cintiq for the first time, which was awesome. You know, they gave us a scanner and had stacks of paper, and I got to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever it was on Barbie.
Yeah.
You know, doing a lot of digital painting every day. And then after work, I would literally sometimes stay there overnight, you know, and just work on my own stuff, you know, or practice. And while I was out there at the time, like, I don't know if it's as big of a deal now, but there was this conceptart.org workshop. So they had one of those in Seattle, you know, like a month or two after I started. And so I was like, let me just go check it out and see, and you know, so I kind of mustered up some courage and I went down, it was an amazing experience, you know.
Was it like, so it's like a monthly workshop?
So it was like a 3-day workshop.
A 3-day workshop.
So you pay like $500 or something like that. But it was a funny story at the time, because at the time, like, I was in debt from school, and you know, I had just moved, and I didn't have a lot of money because I hadn't gotten paid yet. And I went down without a ticket, actually. I went down to Seattle without a ticket. So that's why I kind of mustered up courage, I say. I didn't have a ticket, and I didn't even really know where I was going to stay. I didn't have a hotel reservation.
So you just like went like
let me just go figure it out. Let me just see what happens. And, so I got there, and I was just getting my bank stuff set up. So even the day I got there, my bank stuff wasn't set up, so I didn't have any money to pay for the $500 or whatever it was. You know? So I told them my situation. It's like, just come in, you know. So just let me in, you know. And they said pay us on the last day, you know, which everything would have cleared by then. And so I stayed in a hostel, the Green Tortoise, I think it was. It was cool. I met some other artists. And while I was there, I got to just meet these amazing artists, you know, and just watching how they worked, like just something clicked in my brain. So I had been learning already the digital paints and Photoshop, but seeing how they worked with it, like, it's just like, oh man, like that's just like a different way I hadn't even considered. They treated it as like a natural medium, like oil painting. And I was like, okay, that actually makes sense to me. I'm gonna just kind of dig into that and kind of progress with that. So yeah, like once I got back, I kept trying, and the other crazy thing is like when on the last day when I went to go pay, they're like, don't worry about it, you know. So
I was like, you're really lucky.
I was blessed.
Yeah, you're really blessed.
Blessing, you know. That kind of one conference was like kind of a transformational experience for me. And my biggest regret to this point in my career is that I haven't done more conferences like that, you know. You know, I think going to these things is important. You get to see different perspectives. Exactly. And then you also learn like what they're doing. Exactly. And when you get to see other people work, you know, other artists work, it inspires you. Everything's going good. I'm in Vancouver. You know, I got a chance to just practice, do concept art. You know, I didn't care what it was for. I got to research. I got to do thumbnails and then kind of finalize a design. You know, and then. While I was there, I got this other really cool opportunity to work on a project with Stan Lee, you know, where he was making a project at the time called Legion of Five, you know, and he was working with Rainmaker, and they needed a designer to kind of help bring these characters to life, you know. So around that time, I had this idea. I heard John Woo or something like that, some action director. He had gotten the rights to make a Metroid film or something like that, or the rights had expired. Or, I can't remember, but I basically made this long email. It's like super ambitious. Made a long email to the higher ups at Rainmaker, talking about how we should make this Metroid film and what it would look like and how it could all work and come together, how we should kind of put a bid in on the project or something like that. And it didn't materialize, but it kind of put me on their radar, you know, as someone who wanted to kind of do something cool. So when this Stan Lee project came along, I guess, you know, they thought of me, you know, and they got me to kind of do some concepts. And, and it was like really exciting for me. I never got to meet him, but they took my designs back to him, and they said he was like going all excited and raving. And for me, like in my career at that time, you know, when you're starting as an artist, you're kind of insecure and stuff like that. Definitely. That was like for me, like validation. Like, okay, man, if Stan Lee approve my stuff, you know, I'm good. Like I can hang, you know. Like, so I never felt that insecurity after that.
Like I remember your character, you've always been really strong at character design and character stuff and like characterizing like people. And I thought that was really cool too.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah.
I never thought
I
like
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But on that point, actually, that's a great point. I was primarily a character person. I like drawing faces, I like drawing expressions, I like drawing creatures, and working with anatomy. I was a life drawing kind of artist, like a life drawing-y guy, right? So, but what I found is my designs were very hit or miss, and I didn't understand really how to play with shapes and how to play with proportions in an abstract way. Another opportunity that came up at Rainmaker again, they were doing designs for Reboot. So actually by that time I had left Rainmaker, I'd come back to Toronto. I had just gotten married, and they called me up. During my last little month or so while I was there, they had had me do some test images on Reboot of Reboot, and they really liked one drawing I did of Dot. It was a really cool, like really neat design, nice kind of shapes and like rhythm through the pose, everything like that. But like I said, it's not something I could easily reproduce. I just kind of, if it came out, and it just worked. But when I tried to apply that same sensibility to other characters, it just didn't happen. It didn't work. And it was just because my approach was more so like start at the head and then move down to the shoulders and move to the arm,
Right.
I didn't think like, let me frame this whole thing out. Let me kind of work out the overall silhouette. Play with some like really basic shapes. At the outset, and then kind of evaluate, within 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, is this working or not?
Right.
And then, either move forward or not. So I would basically commit to the drawing and kind of render it and detail it, and then hope that, the final product was a solid design.
Right.
As I learned, not the best way to approach design, So someone pointed out to me, his name was Wilson Tang.
Okay.
He was an art director he had some role in iRobot, which I thought was awesome.
Okay.
A really brilliant guy. I think he's still in Vancouver doing some cool stuff.
All right.
But anyways, he kind of identified that. He's like, you're a life drawing guy. You're like a life drawing artist. I was like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
He's like, you're like, you draw anatomy, and you're kind of like locked into that mold of like, you have to have you have to have the right muscles, and you have you're not going to play with the shape, the size of the torso relative to the legs, or the size of the head relative to the body.
Right.
You're not going to leave out the body and just have head with legs attached. You're kind of locked into this mindset of like life drawing, realistic anatomy.
Right.
And you can kind of make some smaller variations, but not beyond that. He didn't say all that, but that's what I kind of took from it. And it was like a light bulb went off in my brain, and I was like, you know what, this guy's right. From there, I just started to kind of like have a better appreciation for like UPA art style, people who could just take a squiggly line and turn it into something.
Yes.
So I started kind of just like practicing, and funnily enough, like one of the things like I found as an artist that helped me was when people did kind of poke those holes in my craft. Like you're strong here, but you're weak here. And actually, going back around timeline wise here. Bobby Chu was another person who did that for me when I was in school. He looked at my drawings, and they were pretty good. Like I was a good life drawing guy, right? But it's like you have no structure. Like your drawings lack structure. So I kind of went like on a mission, just practice structure. And then I got pretty solid with my structure. But now this new guy, Wilson Tang, was basically saying to me, you lack the abstraction. You lack the ability to abstract your art, and kind of just
like push more design or like push shapes.
Exactly. And I would say that's even still a weakness. I look at your stuff even. You have a really
I'm more like shape guy.
You're definitely a shape guy.
Yeah.
And I find like production design, art directors generally shape people. They're really kind of like able to look at things in an abstract way. And, but character people oftentimes are more so anatomy,
and then
structure,
poses and action like that. I mean,
sometimes you'll find the person who's just strong overall, but oftentimes you'll find somebody's like stronger in one verse. So from there, I started to just kind of push design. Just make squiggly kind of lines, no rhyme or reason, and then kind of turn it into something, And it was a fun exercise, but it was a little bit aimless, And it wasn't until a few later when I actually read a book on the art, the principles of design, where I actually learned, well, there's actually these elements of design. You know, there's lines, there's shape, there's value, there's color, there's texture, you know, there's form. And then beyond that, you take those elements, those are the basic building blocks, those are your ingredients.
Right.
And then you have the principles of design, you know, which are basically like best practices in terms of how to use the elements of design to create something interesting. So, so once I realized that, I was like, man, that was another kind of light bulb that went off, and that gave me a little bit more direction. But my drawings were still a little bit aimless, you know, like haphazard.
So this happening after you came back.
When I came back from Vancouver, and at that time actually I was at House of Cool for a little bit. We worked on Gravity Falls, like the pilot season, which was like, we could all tell like this is going to be a kind of a hit show. It was funny. And then after that, I worked on Mud Pit at Guru. So that was like my first like official role. Like, you're a character designer. You're the lead character designer on the show. So you design all the characters. So that was awesome. I got to apply a lot of what I had learned. And Wilson Tang, again, he had just told me that thing about, you're not playing with shapes enough. I started to try to incorporate that more into those designs. They started ending up more like in terms of realism, because that's that was the art direction on the show. But it was a kind of a fun process. I got to kind of play with geometric shapes and play with form a little bit. I don't know that the show really kind of was successful. If you've never heard of it, right? But I designed the characters. So yeah, jumping back and forth again. When I did come back to Toronto, a few things that happened in Vancouver also got saved. I gave my life to Christ, and it changed like a lot of the way I do things. And I also started a company called Full Circle CS. I had kind of been doing it before I left for Vancouver. But when I came back, I did it kind of like officially. I incorporated in 2009. Connected to all the like most talented artists that I knew in the city. Like Alina Urasov and Andre Barnwell, Shaz Enrico, Lim. I think he wasn't interested at the time, but he's doing good stuff now anyways. They're all doing good stuff. And a few others. And I connected with a former classmate, Greg Wright. We basically founded this company officially, right? And this much to do, and you have this much time to do it. It's got to be done by this particular day, and just get it done. Find a job, not just for the paycheck, but think about what can you learn from this job. Try to put yourself in a position where you can actually grow and learn, from the position, even if the pay is lower or whatever. So at the time we were like, let's make a game. But none of us knew anything about making games. We didn't know how to program. We didn't know how to do 3D. We really wanted to make our own IPs, develop this game. And I think in life sometimes you decide, this is what I want to do, and how badly do I want to do it. Weird enough, the more you can't do it, the more you want to do it.